The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Blumkin. I'm here with my good friend David Nemec for another session of David Nemec's baseball history and trivia. And one of the things we're going to discuss is players having good seasons, leading leagues on occasion with numbers that seem totally unreal. Welcome, David.
That's going to be a pleasure once again, because we certainly have some stuff that caught my eye today. I didn't even realize, we were just talking about Carl Schwarber, and the season he had is historical. It's almost beyond credibility. You can go into detail because you're more familiar with the stats than I am, but I just glanced at it.
Well, he hit 47 home runs, mostly from the leadoff spot, drove in 104 runs, scored over 100 runs, and batted 197.
Wait a minute,
he had more extra base hits than singles. Yeah.
He batted leadoff for the Phillies?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
No, you can watch the game tomorrow and put the game on tomorrow. You'll see it.
Shades of Brady Anderson. Nobody batted leadoff and didn't have any home runs. Unbelievable. You have a leadoff hitter who hits 198. That defies credibility. I'm sure you'll never find
a
leadoff hitter for more than a game or two, let alone for a full season, who had an average anywhere close to that. And I don't care what his walk and RBI and home run numbers are. It just defies imagination.
Well, basically, to the analytic people, he's terrific. Because they don't care about strikeouts and they don't care about batting average. It's meaningless to them. And
okay, I think I pushed something on the phone. All right,
okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
And Pete Alonso of the Mets hit 47 home runs, drove in 118 runs, and batted 217.
Yeah.
He had to get bad the last couple of games to get under 220. You said there's a third one like this?
It was close. Must have been close enough. And and then Muncy is down there with him, with over 100 RBI, and it's just incredible. And I just looked at the totals, just glanced over them, that I haven't been following that closely, and I see 170 guys, 170 batters struck out 100 or more times. You would find. I don't even know if you find 170 guys in the decade. In the 1950s, you certainly couldn't find 170 guys in the entire decade.
I did a project in the late 1980s where I went through the encyclopedia and listed every player who struck out 100 or more times in a season. This is 34 years ago already. And it was pretty long then. And I found certain players that struck out over 100 times and walked less than 20 times. Reggie Jackson that struck out every season except the strike year of 81, and his last year in 87 where he didn't play enough. But and if I kept doing that, I could fill a book with this stuff. Because the way it's developed is that the analytics, which I absolutely hate in a lot of respects, rewards. They don't care about strikeouts, even though it's an out that doesn't 99% of the time doesn't produce anything. They're okay with that.
Yeah. You say you hate it in most respects. Can you name one respect in which you respect analytics?
No. No, because pitchers get pulled with no hitters going.
I know. Yeah.
I was watching some game and some pitcher had a no hitter for 7 innings. And he goes into the dugout after completing the 7th inning, and everybody's shaking his hand and blah blah blah. It's like he expected to be pulled.
Unbelievable.
And people are telling me, well, they go out and throw as hard as they can, and they don't pace themselves, and they're not expected to go all the way. This is quite a contrast to Warren Spahn when he was asked about that once. He said, "When I go out there to start a game, I expect to finish it."
Yeah. No, it's just stuff that's really beyond credibility, and really. I didn't, of course, not having followed the regular season, I really didn't look at the playoffs until today, and I see that all 4 first-round playoffs were sweeps.
Yeah.
Sweeps. And I see Tampa Bay, for the second year in a row, is a victim of a 2-game sweep.
Yeah.
And this is a team, they go almost the entire season. They lose first place by what came in a single game behind the Royals.
I think there were 2 games behind them. Yeah,
2-game playoff, and they get swept in the playoff, and it's in a row they're bounced out. And to me, Tampa Bay is the only team in baseball that I can say I actually admire in the way the team is assembled, the way it's managed, and what they managed to achieve each season with low payrolls and not great attendance, and a pretty miserable following all in all when it would come right down to it, compared to a team like the Yankees or the Dodgers. And it's a shame what baseball has come to. Really, I think it's a terrible shame. And I hold one person responsible for this, and it's not his fault. And that person is Fay Vincent. If Fay Vincent had not resigned, if he had stayed as commissioner and forced the owner to come into his bailiwick and work with him, you wouldn't have had the strike in '94. You wouldn't have had, the PED era after '94. You wouldn't have had all this crazy stuff.
The commissioners are hired by the owners.
Yeah.
And their job basically is to do the owner's bidding. Anybody that steps out of line before Fay Vincent, there was Happy Chandler.
Yeah.
Who showed sympathy toward the players, and he was voted out. And the same thing with Fay Vincent.
And Vincent, to my mind, is Giamatti, and Giamatti brought Vincent in as his right-hand man. And Giamatti, of course, died very shortly after being made commissioner and banning Pete Rose. And then Vincent took the job. And unfortunately, they pushed him out. They just pushed so hard. They eventually convinced him to leave. And
this is what they do.
And the game has sunk ever since. And we'll never know what would have happened if he had managed to stay in and had a deal. If he had dealt with Marvin Miller and Donald Fair, the strike would not have occurred. I almost can guarantee that. And that once the strike occurred, and the owners had to try and get people back in their seats after baseball was resumed, and ignored Peds and ignored the Bonses and the Clemens and the Sheffields and the Tomies, and even though Tomy's in the Hall of Fame, you can't convince me that he didn't use. I mean, all these guys. I think there are many famers who used, and you have somebody in the Hall of Fame like David Ortiz, who's an incredible Hall of Famer. I mean, it's really a disgrace to the game.
Look, they put in Harold Banks.
30 years.
It was much business being having a plaque there as I do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But the thing is that they like commissioners like they hate Landis because, despite the fact that Landis, was a racist, they hated him because they gave him too much power because they were put in a position because of the Black Sox scandal. So they get rid of Chandler and they bring in Fort Frick, whose biggest comment as a league commissioner was, as a baseball commissioner, it's a league matter. So you had Walter O'Malley run the National League and the Yankee owners, Topping and Webb, run the American League.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So he leaves after 1965, and I think the next one was The Unknown Soldier, Eckert.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the writers of Newsday said when they announced it. They said, "My God, they've named the Unknown Soldier."
Yeah. Ubroth was in there, and then
No, that was later.
Yeah, that was later.
And they bring in Bowie Kuhn.
Right.
Oh, a few of my friends went to see Bowie Kuhn speak at the 42nd Street Library once, and he was as arrogant as pompous as you can imagine in person. And because I flew out to Cincinnati for the 1970 World Series, to stay by Al Anderson. And when I flew out there, Bowie Kuhn was the commissioner, and they had the first class seats. So Bowie is calling a big press conference. Once he got off the plane, and everybody think once the series was fixed, blah blah blah. He says he lifted the suspension of Denny McLain, and Denny McLain was traded to Washington. This was the press conference. And then in 1976, he sits out there. They had the first night World Series game on the weekend in Cincinnati, where it's freezing.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there with no overcoat and probably about 10 pairs of thermals.
Yeah.
And the next year, the All-Star game is at Yankee Stadium, 1977. I went with a few friends of mine. And they announced that Bowie Kuhn is there. I'm all the way up in the upper deck. And I get up and I yell out, I said, what if the SOB is wearing an overcoat? It was about 105 degrees that day. What if the SOB is wearing an overcoat to show it isn't hot?
Yeah.
He was at a suspends mantle and maze.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
And, and when they got the ceiling,
were you at the Milwaukee convention where he spoke?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I talked to somebody during the speech. I said, just remember this guy made a living selling used cars.
I know, and as far as I'm concerned, he never advanced. He still was selling cars when he was a baseball commissioner, because that's pretty much what the people going to games were getting. They were getting a game that was no longer fresh, no longer new, no longer it was unfortunate. Really, it's sad what happened. Yeah.
Manfred, oh God, he's not even worth discussing.
Yeah.
They come in with the Ghost Runner.
Yeah.
Some people call it the Manfred Man. There's a rock and roll singer by that name a lot of years ago.
Well, it's 1993 was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
If you're going to a game in 1993, and your next game were to have been a game from this season, you wouldn't know if you were in the right venue. Was this really a baseball game that I'm watching? Where you have all kinds of crazy stuff. No intentional walks anymore. You have no.
That saves about 15 seconds.
Yeah, the bases are huge. There's a pitch clock. Is this really what happens? And in 30 years, that's how long it took. To pretty much just, I think the game is headed towards. I don't know.
Well, people keep showing up. I mean, I like the pitch clock because before that the games were taking 3.5, 4 hours for a 9-inning game.
They were, but they didn't have to.
Oh yeah, it knocked off half an hour of game time this year.
Umpires could have been given their discretion to assess the ball on a pitcher who was taking too long, and you didn't have to have that damn clock, and you could just. I
don't think umpires wanted that kind of responsibility, especially if you have umpires like Angel Hernandez and C.B. Buckner that can't call a pitch what it is.
Not to have any responsibility much at all in the next.
No, they're using robos. In the minor leagues this year, they're using robos behind home plate.
Yeah, you have AIs working the bases and the foul lines and.
Yeah.
But
my concern is when they went to. My concern was in 1994 when they went to the 3 divisions in the wild card. And I've told a couple of people, I said, I longed for the days where you had to win something to get into the postseason.
Yeah.
Now you don't. And they push and push. Well, I watch this program on MLB every morning. DVR at 6 o'clock in the morning. Watch it when I get up called Quick Pitch. Where they give a summary of everything that happened the day before, which is the way I was able to keep up with some of this stuff. And it was, it's just from watching that for an hour, you can get all the things that are crazy. And the thing is that they push and push and push on the MLB channel the wild card races.
Yeah.
Like you have a team getting in with an 85-77 record.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't reseed because they had in the National League they had the Dodgers set up as the number 2 team to play the winner between 3 and 6. So Phoenix is Arizona is the 6th seed, so they play the Dodgers, and the Braves, because they play 4-5, they have to get the Phillies instead of the Braves getting Arizona and the Dodgers getting the Phillies if they did a reseed.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. What you have essentially is 2 teams in the National League that won their division playing another team from their division. In the second round of the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. I agree with you that something has to be done, and with 30 teams and a schedule where every team is now playing every other team.
Yeah,
I think they should do away with the divisions altogether. Just they're
going to realign it. I suggested a total realignment. Geographically, so the Yankees would be in with the Mets, the Phillies, the Red Sox, and Toronto, and all the way through. It's very easy to do that.
Yeah, but it still creates tremendous inequity.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
So you have to find a way to create inequity among all 30 teams. Like Tampa Bay should not be stuck playing a team with a lesser record on the road in the first round of the playoffs. Well,
that's because they don't rank them by record. They rank them the team that wins the division, like Minnesota, gets credit for winning the division. They got a higher seed than Tampa Bay because the Tampa Bay didn't win the division.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they have to do, but it's the NFL gets away with this because the season is short. And
yeah, but the NFL, you don't have the teams with the best records get the buys of the first team in each conference, and they go by records. If a team in the NFL wins 11 games, they don't get seated behind a team that's behind a team that wins 10 games and wins a division.
Yeah,
that doesn't come into it. But as I've been saying, that they also talk about expansion to 32. If they do that, they're going to be just like pro football and have 8 4-team divisions. They'll have 16 teams in the playoffs, and the World Series will start in late November and go into December in a warm weather spot or a dome.
You can't do it because the playoffs are already in baseball.
The World Series is scheduled to start October 27th.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And if it starts in Arizona, if it pits Arizona against does Minnesota have a roof now in the ballpark?
No, that's an open stadium. If they go far, if they go into the end of October, it's going to be a lot of fun playing up there.
It'll be a really interesting series. Yeah. I'd love to see it. Yeah, that would be really crazy. Each team is probably given about a 2% chance to win the pennant in their league. And I'd love to see that series. I really would. It would really show what baseball has come to. It's great.
My friend, Ray Al Anderson, he went to a Cleveland World Series game in 1997, and it was snowing there. So I asked him about that. He says, well, snow wasn't too bad. I said, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that game. I do remember.
Yeah. I could sit through very bad weather in games. In fact, I did with postseason games, but I was a hell of a lot younger then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but this is what these people are going to do because the only thing they give a damn about is money. As long as the people keep paying, keep paying, they'll keep going because any time the owners or any sports start talking about fans, just keep your hand on your wallet because they don't care. All they care about is that you shell out the money for whatever crap they're selling. That's why they have all these alternate uniforms, which a lot of which are hideous. I don't know if you see the Red Sox alternate uniform, that blue and yellow thing.
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, they have a yellow a blue cap and a yellow shirt. It's awful.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very appealing.
No, a lot of the teams have this, and they've also most of the teams now have advertisements on their left sleeves. And the Yankees talk about tradition, and they have an advertisement for an insurance company on the left sleeve.
You gotta be kidding! No, I didn't know.
No, you see these uniforms. The Giants alternate uniforms are horrendous. So are the Padres, and so are a lot of the teams have it because they figured that the more they put this stuff out, the more crap they'll sell.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It really is. Yeah, I don't know where it's headed, but I know neither of us are going to be around to see.
No, it says, Houston says alternate says Space City, and the White Sox have South Side, and the Cubs have Wrigleyville.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay, when they were playing the series at just then they were wearing Devil Ray uniforms from when they were first formed.
Yeah.
It's just, it's very, very hard to be optimistic about any of this.
No, it is, and I could, I can live with uniforms. I can't live with the rule changes and the crazy stuff like the ghost runners and stuff.
They were talking last year about playing with the pitcher's mound, which, if I recall correctly, has been in the place since 1893.
Yeah. And the game, I have to say that really, if I were to go, if I were to become a baseball fan anew, I would pick out vintage baseball games and a high quality vintage baseball game, and I would go exclusively to those. And because they played the game the way it was when it was first formed, and I think it must have been a lot more fun to go to a ball game then, and a lot more of a thrill to see great fielding plays, great base running, all kinds of stuff that now it's either non-existent or underappreciated, and the game itself is depreciated to the point where who cares anymore?
Well, when I went to Pitt for the 4 years, aside from the dorms, the place I spent the most time that was not in the classrooms was at Forbes Field.
Yeah.
I would go and sit in the left field bleachers for $1, and you saw everything, and it was different. That's why on Facebook, there's 2 groups I'm active in that Jim Hallow runs, basically. I'm an administrator in both of them. One is Sweet 16, which covers 1901 through 1960, before the first expansion.
Yeah.
And the other one is trades. And so I do a lot of stuff on the players that basically the players I used to have all the baseball cards on when I was a kid. I didn't see a lot of them because they didn't televise that much. And things like Vic Raschi 1 year leading the American League in strikeouts with 164.
Yeah.
Because nobody struck out. Very few players struck out back then. I looked, Berra and George Cow and a whole bunch of them. From that era, Nellie Fox was an insult to strike out. Now it's just a matter of course.
No, you scan through the 30s, the 40s, even into the 50s, and you'll see, the strikeout leader. If people like Feller were really exceptional. But strikeout leaders often had under 200, and a guy like Johnny Vandermeer, who never even came close to 300, was considered a real strikeout artist. And Disney Dean, I don't think Disney Dean ever broke 200 strikeouts in a year. And even Dazzy Vance, who was considered a real strikeout artist in his time, look at his season totals now, and only because of the number of innings he pitched, make his totals even give his totals even a semblance of present day totals.
2 years ago in the American League in 2021.
Yeah, you can have a guy.
The leading pitcher, workhorse in the American League, had 182 innings.
Yeah, that's it.
So I posted that on this group I'm in called Baseball Nostalgia Now, which is basically most of which is the current stuff. So somebody made a comment, this is the way the game has evolved. I put down, no, it hasn't evolved. There's 120-game winner this year's pitcher Spencer Strider on the Braves. 20th win the last.
This guy looks like a throwback guy. I mean,
but he became the first pitcher to win 20 games. He struck out 280, 0 complete games.
Yeah, and that I can believe because nobody's going to allow him to pitch a complete game. But he had an incredible season last year too. I have always felt, I don't know if you remember the QMax or not when that came up for discussion as a new stat. The QMax emphasized opponent's batting average. And opponent's batting average versus league, the league batting average, Pedro Martinez in 2001 set the present day record for that in the major leagues. He was over in triple digits. His number of the batting average he allowed compared to what the league allowed was the only one in triple digits, I think, in Major League history.
And, isn't that equivalent to ERA against the league? Because Lefty Grove in 1930 and 31 was like almost two earned runs less than the league average.
Yeah, but ERA is a lot of it. It goes to
subjective because of errors and
probably the field, probably it's more chancy. Opponent's batting average, you have to, getting base hit. You have to get a base hit, and you can walk 100 guys in a season. You can give up a hit total, and you're going to be a winner. Your one loss record is going to be very good. And now, because strikeouts are so high, it's I don't even there are probably a dozen pitchers or more that had over 200 strikeouts. And, and
there are at least 10 because MLB Crawl runs the top 5 in each league, and both leagues had at least 5 over 200.
Yeah,
and one of the things I believe in, I accept is WHIP, which is wins and walks and hits per 9 innings. Garrett Cole was under 1 this year.
I agree with you. That is a good a key stat, and but it's crazy what you got because it just doesn't make sense. And I'm just trying to look here, and well, look at Strider led the major strikeouts. You're right. He had 13.5 strikeouts for 9 innings. I don't know if any starter. You have to go back to Steller. Even Steller didn't have that kind of strikeout ratio. The Steller he had 346 strikeouts one year, and he had over 300 innings, I think. And you don't see anything like this back in nothing. And it's crazy. And I don't know I don't know how you can. And I'm just looking here, and I'm seeing. It's Freddie Peralta.
One of the things about the current game is that in a lot of cases the fundamentals are terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they are, because I don't know what they do in the minor leagues anymore. A lot of guys come. The minor leagues just aren't that deep. You don't spend that many seasons if you don't get the fundamentals in college, and it's very unlikely you're going to get them in high school. You're not going to have that good a coach in high school.
No, a couple of years ago, a friend of mine went to a Brooklyn Cyclones game out Coney Island here, and that was at that point it was a rookie league.
Yeah.
And he went to a game. The starting pitcher went 5 innings. They had a different pitcher pitching 6, 7, 8, and 9. So they trained them that way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I realize that's going on in the minors. It's not.
Imagine going on. Imagine a manager going out to the mound and taking out a Bob Gibson or an early win, any of those types, Sal Magley, any of those types say, well, you reached 100 pitches, you have to come out.
It reached that.
Yeah.
It really didn't reach that until probably the strike. I think this is if you go back and look at pre-strike total, strikeout totals, and so forth, they're still high. The batter strikeout totals are high, but nothing as ridiculous as what you see today.
Yeah.
And you don't see pitchers. You still saw a complete game. You still could expect to see a reasonable number of complete games. And I know you weren't at the Seattle convention, and not in 2006. And that, to me, was the one convention you couldn't afford to miss, because you saw 2 complete games, you saw no substitutions, no mound visits, nothing. And the game was played well under 2 hours. It was crisp. There were no conferences even between the catchers and pitchers. It just sailed along the way a game used to be played, and it's possible to get that again, to get that back, but not with the present rules, not the way it's structured now. It'll never happen again. That game will stand out in my mind as the last of its kind, probably, that I'll ever see, and probably that most people who were at that game will ever see, because there's probably been nothing like it since. I can't think of anything. I've never talked about anything like it.
There was one game where I was watching where I forget whose pitcher had a no-hitter after 7 innings. They pulled him. So the first relief pitcher in the 8th inning gives up a hit. And the 2nd inning, the 9th inning, they bring in some pitcher, gives up a few runs, and they wind up losing the game.
Yeah.
And there was a Yankee game right before the All-Star game with this pitcher, German, who was pitched a perfect game earlier in the year, and who was out the last half of the year because he had some personal problems that he had to address. He pitches 6 innings of 1-hit ball. They pull him. Aaron Boone pulls him. This is the last game before the All-Star break. And he brings in relief pitchers. They wind up blowing the game. The relief pitchers wind up blowing the game. And they asked Boone why he did this. He said they needed work. I needed work. God, I couldn't believe it when he said that. This is a ball game you're supposed to win.
You don't have to. I know.
And these managers are all out of the same mold. Yeah.
Well, they have to find some excuse that makes some sense, lame as it may be. It's
coming down from all these teams have these analytic departments, and they hire general managers who believe in this stuff. People ask me about the Yankees because a lot of Yankee fans I know are horrified by this season they just had. And I said, as long as they keep Brian Cashman as general manager, nothing's going to change. And he's good.
When you look at this season, they could have made the playoffs if they'd been in another division, or if they'd been.
But they were 82. They wound up 82 and 80.
They went 82 and 80.
Yeah, okay. And John Carlos Stanton, who they're paying $30 million a year to, hit 191.
Wow.
And then, of course, there's my good buddy Joey Gallo, who Minnesota signed for $11 million, hit 177. And the guy has 3 times, he strikes out once every, 3 plate appearances and 50% for every at-bat, when you exclude the walks. And his lifetime average is 197. He has 3 times as many strikeouts in his career as hits.
I know, but these guys now.
Yeah.
And
Bill Veeck said when free agency first came in, he says it's not going to be a high cost to start him. It's going to be a high cost to mediocrity.
Yeah, well, he's right, and and I think the Schwarber year should really draw heavy attention. Talk about analytics. I don't know what they're going to do with that one, but they're probably going to find a way to justify it as a great season. And somebody, I don't know. It's probably going to seem a great season, a particularly great season in another 10 years or so, because you're probably going to find a lot of players down and around there by that.
Well, if things keep going the way they're going, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think there are
we
only
have
nine guys in both leagues combined who are 300. 9 qualifiers at 300, and that's
I think 4 pitchers with the qualified with the ERAs under 3.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And another thing I was doing was, anytime I looked at the probables in the paper, I was counting the number of starting pitchers with ERAs of over 5, and every day there was a bunch of that.
Yeah,
because they have 5-man rotations, and the pitcher, one of their top pitchers gets hurt, they bring in some guy who can't pitch. And they're starting with ERAs of 5, ERAs of 6. I mean, it's just incredible. I was telling some friends of mine this, and they couldn't believe it. I said, next time you get your paper, just check this out.
Yeah, it makes it all the more unfortunate that a team like Tampa Bay didn't go farther. Because they use their pitchers very effectively throughout the year. There are no complete games. Very few starters work more than 150 innings, if any. And they have a lot of pitchers who pitch a lot of innings, and they bring them in certain situations, and their whole roster is stacked that way. And so it's a team that's built to win with talented players who can work for fairly low salaries in comparison to what most teams are paying. And when the salaries get too high, like Blake Snell, you start shipping them out and bringing in somebody else to replace them. And they do it year after year, and they stay above 500, and they stay in contention. And it's too bad they're not more richly rewarded, because if they were, maybe baseball would start paying attention and other teams would start doing the same thing, and we might see a different game. Otherwise, it's
well, years ago I was looking through the Neff column, and I came across the 1957 Kansas City Athletics. They had no pitcher with 154 innings. They had nobody had enough innings to qualify. Then in 1995, the Colorado Rockies had 1 complete game. I thought that that stuff would be forever. I think 2 years ago, the Pirates' workhorse had 124 innings. And you look at some of these teams; they use 35, 40 pitchers. They send these guys up and down like a yo-yo. It's just. Unfortunately, it's just what it is right now.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, so, we got to cut this because Ralph will get PO'd if we go over. We could go on with this all night.
I just wanted one more comment, and that's that Tampa Bay had only 4 pitchers who threw 100 or more innings, and only one who threw more than 120 innings. And, and they won 99 games. And their pitching staff, just throw this number out, they use 40 in the course of the year. But it's close. So,
okay, I think somebody's coming in. Hello?
Yeah, it's Mark.
Mark who?
Mark Weissman.
Oh,
yeah, hi. We're
Alex.
coming on for the Retro Rangers podcast. We're supposed to be on at 7 o'clock. This is George Grimm. We're supposed to be on at 7 o'clock.
Okay, I'm on with David Nemec. We'll get off.
We're leaving.
We're leaving. Okay?
Right.
Okay, Mark and I will log off and we'll call back in again.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, David, thank you very much. This was very good.
Great.
Bye-bye.
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 The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.